If you were in Australia during Black Summer, you already know that feeling. That moment when the smoke was not going away. The sky turned orange at midday. Roads were closing faster than the news could report them. And suddenly every person around you was scrambling. Neighbors were knocking on doors. Families were throwing whatever they could find into the back of the ute. And if you made it to Bunnings in those first few hours, you saw something that stopped you in your tracks. Empty shelves. Not just low stock. Completely gone. Generators wiped out. Torches gone. Tarps gone. Water containers gone. All of it. Cleared out in under 48 hours. And the people who arrived on day 3 walked the aisles for 20 minutes and went home with nothing. People were not just grabbing things off shelves. They were arguing over the last generator in the aisle. But here is what most people do not know. That is not going to change. Next summer it will happen again. Exactly the same way. Unless you are ready before everyone else is. Now most Australians, when they think about crisis preparation, they think about Woolies or Coles first. They think about tinned food, bottled water, and long-life milk. And look, food matters. Nobody is saying it does not. But here is the reality. The moment a major storm warning goes out, the moment a bushfire threat hits the news, every single person in your suburb has the exact same idea at the exact same time. And Woolies and Coles are stripped bare within hours. Not days. Hours. But Bunnings is different. Because Bunnings does not sell you things that run out. Bunnings sells you things that solve problems. A top does not get eaten. A generator does not expire. A good padlock does not go stale. And here is something most people forget. There is a Bunnings in almost every suburb across Australia. You already know where it is. You already trust it. You have probably already spent a Sunday arvo wandering around in there. But most Australians have never once thought about it as a survival store. That is exactly what it is. So let us walk through what actually sells out first and why you need to get there before everyone else does. Let's start with the most critical item on this list. Water. Because in an Australian crisis, water isn't just important, it's everything. Heat waves kill faster here than almost anywhere else in the world. Dehydration can take you down in hours when it's 42 degrees outside, and if the power goes out, your taps stop working. Most people don't realize this, but urban water systems rely on electric pumps. No power means no pressure, and within 24 hours, your taps run dry. So item number 1, water storage tanks and containers. Head to the garden section at Bunnings. You want poly water tanks. Brands like Pope and Holman are solid. A 100-litre tank will cost you around $60. A 200-litre tank, about $120. For a family of 4, you're looking at storing at least 80 litres minimum. That's 3 days of drinking water if you ration properly. Now, item number 2, water filtration and purification. Bunnings stocks basic ceramic filters and purification tablets in the camping section. A pack of 50 purification tablets runs about $18. One tablet treats 1 litre. If you're pulling water from a creek or a rainwater tank that hasn't been maintained, you need this. Bacteria and giardia are common in Australian waterways, and drinking untreated water will put you on your back fast. Water sorted. But what about staying powered up? Now let us talk about power. Because most Australians reckon a blackout means a few hours of sitting in the dark waiting for Energy Australia to sort it out. But we already know from the 2024 Victoria storms that some households sat without power for over a week. A full week. No lights. No fridge. No phone charging. No way to know what is happening outside. And that changes everything about how you need to think about this. Item 3 is a generator. And this is the single fastest selling item at Bunnings the moment any major weather warning hits. Gone within hours. Every single time. Now at Bunnings you are looking at a range of options. The Ozito models are your entry level and they will get the job done for basic needs. But if you can stretch your budget, look at the mid-range petrol generators in the 2,000 to 3,500 watt range. That gives you enough power to run a fridge, charge your devices, and keep a few lights going. The key thing is to buy it now. Not when the BOM puts out a warning. Not when your neighbor texts you about a storm coming. Now. Because by then it is already gone off the shelf. Item 4 is LED lanterns and head torches. And I want to be really clear here. The cheap $2 torch from the bargain bin is not your friend in a real crisis. Batteries drain faster than you expect. The beam is weak. And they fail at the worst possible moment. At Bunnings, look for LED lanterns with a runtime of at least 20 hours and head torches that take AA batteries. AA batteries are everywhere. They are easy to stockpile. Grab at least 4 sets of spares per torch. A good head torch keeps your hands free when you are moving around a dark house at night with kids or elderly family members depending on you. Power sorted. But now let us talk about what happens when the temperature starts pushing your household to its limits. Here is something that makes Australia unique compared to almost every other country when it comes to crisis preparation. We do not just deal with one extreme. We deal with both. In Queensland and Western Australia, you are managing brutal heat that can push past 45 degrees Celsius and turn an unprepared house into an oven within hours. But in Victoria and Tasmania, you are dealing with winter cold that drops hard and fast the moment your heating system loses power. And both of these extremes can hurt your household badly if you are not ready for them. So shelter and heat management is not optional. It is essential. Item 5 is heavy-duty tarps. And this is one of those items that disappears from Bunnings so fast during a crisis that most people never even see it on the shelf. At Bunnings, you want to look at the heavy-duty polyethylene tarps. The 3 by 6 meter size is your minimum. The 6 by 9 meter gives you real flexibility. These tarps do more than most people realize. They block sun and reduce heat inside a shelter. They collect rainwater when rigged at an angle into a container. They create a covered outdoor cooking area so you are not cooking inside an enclosed space. They repair a damaged roof temporarily after a storm tears through your suburb. One top used correctly is 10 problems solved at once. Grab at least 2. Item 6 is a gas camping stove and spare cylinders. Because when the power goes out, your electric stove becomes a very expensive bench space. At Bunnings, you will find a solid range of single and double burner camping stoves that run on the standard screw-top gas cylinders. The stove itself is affordable, but the cylinders are what matter most. You want a minimum of 6 cylinders stored safely. That gives you enough cooking capacity for a family over a solid week of crisis cooking. Now, one thing that is non-negotiable here. Never use a gas stove inside an enclosed space. Carbon monoxide builds up fast and silently. Cook outside or in a well-ventilated area. Every single time. No exceptions. Shelter sorted. Now let us get into the tools that actually give you the ability to solve real problems when everything around you stops working. Now I want you to think like a tradie for a moment. Because tradies have a mindset that most suburban Australians have never really developed. And that mindset is simple. Tools solve problems. Not apps. Not smart home systems. Not anything that needs a Wi-Fi connection or a charged battery to function. Actual physical tools in your hands solve problems. And in a crisis when the power is gone and the systems are down, the person with the right tools is the person who stays in control of their situation. Item 7 is heavy-duty padlocks and chains. And this one is less about keeping strangers out on a normal day and more about what happens by day 3 or 4 of a serious blackout. Because by that point shops are closed or emptied out. Fuel is getting tight. And people who are completely unprepared are starting to make decisions they would never normally make. Your garage, your shed, your water storage, your generator. All of it needs to be secured properly. At Bunnings, look at the Stanley and Arbus ranges of heavy-duty padlocks. Pair them with a thick hardened steel chain from the hardware aisle. A bolt cutter resistant padlock on a solid chain is not glamorous. But it is the kind of boring practical decision that keeps your household protected without drawing any attention to yourself. Secure your valuables now before you actually need to. Item 8 is a multi-tool and a hand axe. Because here is the reality of power tools during a blackout. They are useless. Your drop saw, your electric drill, your angle grinder. All of them become very expensive paperweights the moment the grid goes down. But a good multi-tool works forever. No charging required. No batteries needed. Bunnings stocks a solid range from Stanley and Makita. A multi-tool handles cutting, filing, screwdriving, and basic repairs all in one. Pair it with a mid-sized hand axe and you have got the ability to chop wood for warmth, clear debris, and handle basic construction tasks without needing a single PowerPoint. Every tradie worth their salt has both of these in the ute already. Now you need them in your shed. Security sorted. Now let us get into the two items that almost nobody thinks about but that experienced preppers swear by every single time. Right. This is the section that most prepper videos never cover. And honestly, this is the section that separates the households that genuinely manage a crisis from the ones that struggle through it. Because there is an aisle in every Bunnings across Australia that most people walk straight past every single weekend. They walk past it on the way to the garden section. They walk past it on the way to the paint aisle. And they never once stop to think about what is sitting on those shelves. But experienced preppers know exactly where it is. And they buy from it regularly before they ever need it. Item 9 is heavy-duty cable ties and rope. And I know what you are thinking. Cable ties. Really? But hear me out. In a genuine crisis situation, cable ties and quality rope become some of the most useful items in your entire household. A top needs to be rigged quickly. Cable ties. A gate needs to be secured temporarily. Cable ties. A broken hinge on your shed door needs to hold until you can fix it properly. Cable ties. Shelter needs to be built fast from whatever materials you have available. Rope. At Bunnings, grab the heavy-duty black cable ties in bulk packs of 100 or more. And for rope, look at the braided polyester options in the 10 to 20 meter lengths. They are cheap. They are strong. And in a crisis, they get used faster than almost anything else in your kit. Experienced preppers do not buy one pack. They buy 4. Item 10 is first aid supplies and bleach. And this combination might surprise you, but both of these items are available at Bunnings and both of them are absolutely critical. The Bunnings first aid range covers your basic wound care. Bandages, antiseptic, dressings, and gloves. And this matters more than most people realize because in a serious blackout, ambulances get delayed. Roads get blocked. Emergency services get stretched thin across an entire region at once. A small cut that gets infected in a crisis is not a small problem anymore. It becomes a serious one fast. So proper wound care supplies are non-negotiable. And bleach. Regular unscented household bleach from Bunnings can be used to purify water in an emergency when used in the correct tiny amounts. It also keeps your sanitation situation under control when normal hygiene systems are not working properly. 2 items. 1 forgotten aisle. Both of them could genuinely make the difference for your household when things get serious. Now let us talk about when to buy all of this and why timing matters more than most Australians realize. So let us talk timing. Because this is where most Australians get it completely wrong. They wait. They see the smoke on the horizon or the storm warning on the BOM app and then they drive to Bunnings. And by the time they get there, the shelves are already half empty. And by the next morning, they are completely gone. Every single time. Without fail. This is not a maybe. This is Australian history repeating itself every single season. Here is how the Australian crisis calendar actually works. Bushfire season runs from October through to March across most of the country. That is when generators, tarps, and water containers vanish first. Cyclone season up in Queensland and Western Australia runs from November through to April. That is when rope, cable ties, and heavy-duty tarps disappear from northern Bunnings stores within hours of a warning being issued. And storm season across Victoria and New South Wales hits hardest between September and February. That is when lanterns, torches, and first aid supplies get cleared out fast. So the window to buy is now. Not next month. Not when the weather starts looking rough. Right now. Because the shelves empty in 48 hours every single time and the people who wait are always the ones who miss out. In terms of budget, if money is tight, start with the basics first. Water containers and a torch will run you under $50. Add a top and some cable ties and you are still under $100. A generator is your bigger investment, but even a basic entry-level model gives your household a serious advantage over most of your neighbors. Build your kit gradually but start today. But here is the thing. Gear alone is not enough. And that is what most people get wrong right at the very end. Look. I want to be straight with you before we finish up. This video is not about scaring you. It is not about telling you the world is ending or that you need to spend thousands of dollars this weekend to keep your family safe. That is not what this is. What this is about is something Australians have always understood deep down. We live on a continent that does not go easy on people. Black Summer reminded us of that. The 2024 Victoria storms reminded us of that. And every bushfire season, every cyclone warning, Every heat wave that pushes past 45 degrees reminds us of that again. But here is what Black Summer also showed us. The households that stayed calm, that kept their families fed and watered and together, they were not the ones with the biggest bunkers or the most expensive gear. They were just the ones who had done a little bit of preparation before everyone else started panicking. You do not need to do everything today. You do not need to buy all 10 items this weekend. Just start. Pick one item from this list. Go to Bunnings this arvo. Grab it. Put it in your shed. And then next weekend grab another one. Because a calm, prepared household does not happen overnight. It happens one quiet decision at a time. The boring house wins. The prepared family stays calm. And calm people always come out the other side in better shape than everyone else. If this video got you thinking a little differently about your setup, hit subscribe and stick around. Every week we cover smart, realistic preparation for normal Australian families. Stay ready. Stay calm. And I will see you in the next one.